Alright. So, the reason you clicked on this video is because you're wondering which tire is better for your four-wheeler, the OG Outlaws or the Outlaw 2s. Well, there's no simple answer. I hate to say it. Whenever you think about it and look at them, they're about the same type of tire. Okay, so put this in perspective, and to sum it up for some of you that don't want to watch a whole video on details, I'm going to just put it this way for you. OGs for the light four-wheelers and 2s for the bigger four-wheelers with more power. Now, for some of you that want details, that are considering putting the OGs on your heavier bike or putting 2s on your lighter bike with less power, stay tuned for this because it's kind of a long road. Not a long video, but just a long kind of explanation. So, to start out, these are OG Outlaws, and the way you can tell the difference in between the 1 and the 2 is that this big lug right here on the OG, it don't wrap around, it just kind of sits right there. On the 2, it comes down, all the way down to about here on the 2. And I think, don't take my word for this, but this lug might be just a little bit smaller on the 2 than the 1. So, another thing is, sum it up, if you already chose, okay, well, I want the OG Outlaws on my solid rear axle, old, kind of lower power four-wheeler. The best thing I recommend, do not run all skinnies. Run the wides in the back and then the skinnies in the front. Kind of just like the original way that your four-wheeler came, with the wides in the back, skinnies in the front. Because on your older four-wheelers, and even some of the newer ones with a solid rear axle, most of your power is going to your rear axle. So you have way more power to spin those big, wide tires. And these are 29.5s. The thing about high lifter, and this is about with all mud tires on four-wheelers, is that your lug size will differ with size of the tire. But carry on. Weight. Weight is a big thing in these four-wheelers. So if you have low power and you're wanting to spin meaty tires and thickish kind of mud, OGs are the way to go. If you want an aggressive tire that, you know, it's like, oh, well, it's going to bog down, then the 2's the way to go. But weight difference, the OG is lighter than the 2. I had 28-inch Outlaw 2s. If you've been here for a while on the channel, you've seen them. They were rough, okay? The Outlaw 2s, or the 28-inch Outlaw 2s, were about, I'd say, a fraction of the weight of the 29.5 OGs heavier. So, and the reason that the 28s or any Outlaw 2s heavier than the OG is because that side lug wrap, so you're adding more rubber to your tire, so there's more weight. But, alright, so that's weight, you know. The lighter tire will be the OG. That wins. On to performance. I had both, but this was on a lighter four-wheeler. This was not a high-powered four-wheeler that can spin tires, you know, at 7,000, 6,000, 5,000 RPM without an issue, not bogged down. This is on a 400cc motor, Yamaha Big Bear, which came stock with kind of a reduced gear for first gear, so I can really spin just about any tire I want. But to get out the reduction stuff for a minute, performance-wise, I hit the same hole whenever I went back to box with the OGs, and the OGs did better than the 2s, mainly because I can spin them faster, and you see, I don't know if the lug pattern changes on them or what they do, but the OGs, they definitely did better. And to be honest, there's a reason that High Lifter hasn't stopped making these tires ever since the early 2000s. You know, it's a good tire. All High Lifter tires I recommend. They still make the R2, I believe. I don't know. I'm not going to get into those special tires that nobody really knows about, like the Radial and the R2 and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that right now. Right now, it's basically upon the Outlaw 2 and the OG Outlaws. So, performance-wise, your OG Outlaw likes to float and it likes to paddle up. It don't dig. It still digs, but it don't dig nearly as bad as the Outlaw 2 does. The Outlaw 2 lug pattern, actually, what I just thought about is these little lugs right here are actually just a little bit longer than the OG Outlaws. And so are these. So it digs a whole lot harder than the OG. The OG kind of likes to stay on top or in the middle of that mud. It don't bottom out. It don't like sink to the bottom. My experience with Outlaw 2s, they just dug straight to the bottom. They want to find a bottom, and they will find a bottom if you got the clearance. And that's where Outlaw 2s kind of shine if you got a heavier machine. That, you know, the point of the heavy machines is to dig. It's not to kind of float, it's to dig. So Outlaw 2s for the heavy machines, OG Outlaws for the light machines. Or it could be vice versa. If you got a Honda with a gear reduction, I say Outlaw 2s, but that's just me. Now, to continue on with this, which one has better ride? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Froggy, I just kicked him. Alright, I continue on with this. Am I still recording? Yes, I am. Am I still in 4K? We're about to waste Snapchat. Yeah, I am. Alright. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about, ride comfort. Just by a look at them, you should know that they're not comfortable, like, at all. Both tires, from a slow startup, from a slow, like, run, like whenever you're first starting to move, they're going to be rough as they can be. It's like riding on some Flintstone rocks. Like, if you chiseled some stone into some tires, that's about what it's like on both tires. Neither one is more comfortable than the other one, in my opinion. Now, getting up to speed, both tires are about the same. They ride pretty smooth whenever you're going a little bit faster. But whenever you're doing that slow kind of creep kind of ride, whenever you're just slowly kind of going, maybe going down the trail and you're in that traffic, or like the main trail and there's like a lot of people on a big ride and you happen to kind of ride slow, these are not the tire for comfort. Highlifter claims that they are a very comfortable tire. I say otherwise. Now, this can vary depending on your four-wheeler, because mine is a 2002 Yamaha Big Bear, so I got the solid rear axle. I know y'all can't see that, but a solid rear axle and a shock that is older than me, okay? I'm about to be 16. This four-wheeler is older than me. I was born in 06. This one was an 02. So, the hand-me-down special. So, ride comfort, none of them ride comfortably. So, if you still don't know which one to get, and you want to get ride comfort, either one don't matter. Trail riding, which brings me to the next segment of these tires, trail riding. Like I said, neither one is comfortable. These are a mud tire. So whenever I'm in the grass with this four-wheeler and I kind of gas it in first or second gear, all the tire wants to do is spin, and same thing on hard packed dirt or something, it just spins. So it's the lack of, what just hit my ear? The lack of I don't know what you want to call it. I knew the word, but now I don't. Contact surface. Yeah, the lack of contact surface and all that, and how big the lugs are, you're not getting very much contact surface. So it's going to spin, and that's about it. So, which brings me to this. Now, whenever on softer stuff, like some softer dirt, they ride fine. They don't really spin. Sand, they're not the type of tire for you creek riders, or you people that like to ride in like that sand. I don't know how you like to ride in sand, but if you like to ride in sand, by all means get the OG Outlaws. Do not get the 2s, because the 2s dig straight down. The OGs kind of stay on top of it. Both tires are a paddle-like tires, so they do decent in the sand, which brings me to water. Both tires do good in water because, you know, the paddle-type style. If you're like a Honda or just somebody that likes to float, I'd get all wides and just run it that way. I'd get the wide offset in the front, and then, of course, 2.5-inch spacers in the rear to even it out. And just float along, paddle through that pond, do whatever you do. That's not my, it's not my kind of riding. But, and another thing is, to be careful about with these tires, the 12 and the 14-inch wheel, that 2 inches of wheel diameter makes a huge difference. The 14-inch wheels, they sunk. With the 12-inch wheel, you got more tires, so you got more air in there. You're going to float, like, a lot. Even in, I'm still recording. Even in shallow water, the four-wheeler still likes to float. Like, if it gets about up to, oh, it's still recording, thankfully. If you get up to about here in water, you're going to start floating just a little bit. But once you start getting above those tires, you're floating. Especially in the rear. Personally, the first time I took these tires out, I'm still recording. First time I took these tires out on the 12-inch wheel, I have not rode on a big tire on a 12-inch wheel yet. I took them out. I tried to hit some deep water. The four-wheeler shut off, but in my mind, before I went, I always prep my stuff. So, depending on my tires that I'm running or whatever I'm doing, I prep my tire pressure. What I thought would be a good combination was 15 in the two fronts and then 5 in the rear. Yeah, no. The rear still wanted to float more than the front. So, there's no really escaping the rears. If you're running the wide and then the skinny, so the wide rear and then the skinny front, that foiler's going to want to do that. So, I don't know how to counterbalance that besides running no air in the rear and then however much air you want to run in the front. These tires, you can run them without air in them. That it's just the way mud tires are constructed. Not any mud tire, but just, you know, that thicker ply mud tire, you can run them with no air. You can run the OGs on the 12-inch wheel with no air because that's how I got them, and I rode them like that. They did ride like crap, but I tried to take it in a little bit of deep water. It did not float. It floated just a little bit, but that's expected. But pretty decent. With no air in them. You're going to sink to the bottom of every hole, though. So, but personally, I like to... I did not realize my phone shut off. I'm so paranoid about this. I hate recording on these phones because you never know when they're going to stop recording. But y'all didn't really miss anything besides me stepping on the frog. I can't remember what I went over. Oh, yeah. Now, overall, I'm not the one to choose. I think both tires are great. Don't get me wrong. I kind of like the OGs more. But that's just me. I've got to get that stupid thing off of her. It's a freaking little keychain. It just rattles. Anyways. I'm not sure if I covered the whole thing about how nobody really has a true comparison between the two tires. All they got is a video of them going through mud holes. Like, oh, you're not explaining nothing. That's what I'm here for. Now, personally, I think both tires are great. It's a high lifter tire. High lifter knows best. They've been in the game the longest than any other four-wheeler brand out there as of now. Like, mud focused. I'm not biased, but my go-to would be high lifter before anything else. High lifter's just a good thing. They still make bracket lists for this old four-wheeler. And it's still pretty shocking. But I know some of you guys are wondering, well, can I fit the 29.5s on my solid rear axle four-wheeler? Or my older four-wheeler, whatever the case may be. I will say this. With 28s, I had these, frog, you better move or else I will step on you again. And I did not do it intentionally. So, I used to have bottom fenders. Anyways, so with the 28s, they came out about here. They came out like out here because I had the wide wheel. Of course, it's going to be cut because my phone freaking runs out of space, so I'm ready to get a camera. It's coming soon for the channel. Anyways, I think I was saying, every time you turn, it sucked this in, so it kind of done that. Which I don't think you could escape that either way with a 2-inch lift. You might have, that's with 28s with a wide wheel. But, so, on my four-wheeler, I took those fenders off with 29.5s. Even with that bottom fender on, I don't really think it would have affected it much. It might have scrubbed a little bit. But on these back fenders, Now this was 20, maybe, it was a good 20 years ago, maybe 19. My dad used to own this fooler. He had the same kind of tire setup, and he had to trim that much off in order to keep these tires from rubbing. And you can see it cuts very close. You can, if you're not scared to scratch up your four-wheeler, I say don't spend that extra money on a lift. Just go for it. But if you don't want to scratch up your four-wheeler, which I totally understand that, and you don't want to scuff it up or rip the plastics off, get the lift. Don't ruin it. But if you got an older four-wheeler that's, you know, it's like, meh, don't get the lift. I mean, it don't hurt it too much. You might have to do a little bit of trimming, which never hurts, in my opinion. But at the same time, we're talking about my four-wheeler, so I will be getting a new one soon. Still recording. Got to make sure. We're definitely getting a camera after this. This is horrible. Anyways, so that was my opinion on them. They do great. I'm going to leave it up to y'all to decide the Outlaw versus the Outlaw 2. Like I said, in my personal opinion, OGs for the light four-wheelers, 2s for the big four-wheelers with a lot of power. So 570, 650, 850s and up. You know, the 570s and up. Now, on your Honda 420, still recording, gotta check it. On your Honda 420, you can turn Outlaw 2s with a gear reduction, no issue. All those fools that can get a gear reduction, I'd say get the 2s if you want them. But the OGs do the best for your light four-wheeler. Anyways, so that was my sum up of them. Oh, I will say this. At full turn, my tire does hit my snorkel. So you got to kind of watch out for that. And they will hit this too. So be very cautious about your turning radius once you get bigger tires. But that's about anything. So I stepped on another frog. I've got to stop. Anyways. Oh, and another thing is, once you get tires this big on your lighter four-wheelers, you will gain speed. If you're going from a 25 to a 29 or a 25 to a 28, your top speed increases. Don't ask me the science of that, because I cannot explain it to you. I did not pay close attention to physics or whatever the class was. I did not pay close attention, but I still passed. Anyways, I'll catch y'all on the next one. And if y'all got any questions, just ask me in the comments, because I have nothing else better to do. I'll see y'all later.